Hello, everyone. Welcome to our monthly Science Vault Protein seminar series. My name is Amy Huang, and I'm the Associate Director of Scientific Ecosystems at the Good Food Institute. Today, we are again joined by the brilliant Dr. Carla Molento, who is a researcher in animal welfare science and a professor of animal welfare at the Federal University of Parana in Brazil. She joined the university's Animal Welfare Laboratory upon its founding in 2004 and has been involved with legislation and norms related to animal protection, serving for 6 years as the president of the Animal Welfare Commission at the Brazilian Federal Veterinary Medicine Council. She has also dedicated part of her research activities to protein production systems like cellular agriculture that promote alternatives to animals used as mechanisms for food production. So today, we're really going to be diving into lots of her engagement with cellular animal science from an animal ethics standpoint. For example, initiatives like introductory courses, research projects, outreach activities, and powerful partnerships like the one between the Federal University of Parana and GFI Brazil. There are also other relevant initiatives that we'll touch upon today that have evolved over time that have resulted in some really exciting academic advancements for alternative proteins in Brazil. So really delighted to be joined today by Dr. Molento. Please feel free to take it away whenever you're ready, Carla. Thanks so much for being with us here today.
Well, thank you, Amy, for the very nice introduction. Thank you. Thank you, Renee, for helping us with the organization of this moment, which is actually very special for me. Yes, we've been partners with GFI Brazil for a couple of years now, and it's always a pleasure to be close to you and to be able to speak to you directly like this, and also to share our thoughts and some of the facts in Brazil with this audience. So thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here as well. This first slide is just an invitation for you to come to our city, Curitiba, in the south of Brazil, where the Federal University of Parana is set, and this is our historic building. So please, if you come to Brazil, drop by and pay us a visit. And the idea here is to present some recent developments and also some aspects of academic activities related to alternative proteins, mostly focusing on cell-based meat. And the talk is organized so that we touch on recent developments in terms of general aspects of meat, both conventional and alternative meats, and then some aspects of the Brazilian food industry, which is probably, as you know, is a major activity in the country, and Brazil is a major player in terms of food production in the world, and aspects in terms of regulation and policies, which are so important for the development of alternative proteins, and in the sense that they need to get to the final consumer. So regulatory aspects are basically fundamental. And then what's going on in terms of academic activities, research and teaching. There are many activities, so I'll try to summarize the most relevant aspects at this point, and also some of our contributions, and by our, I mean Brazil, in terms of scientific publications and the advancement of knowledge, both in terms of the biotechnological aspects of cell-based meat, but also in terms of more general aspects. And a little bit of the GFI activities, because GFI Brazil is very, very important for what we are seeing and the rate of development we are developing in Brazil. And then a synthesis. So I would like to start our talk by showing you our most recent publication, which makes us very, very proud, because we've been able to talk about a great meat revolution in the Meat Science scientific journal. So it's a very traditional scientific journal for conventional meat. And publishing this paper is, for us, a turning point in a way. So the basic idea of the paper is that meat is going through perhaps the greatest revolution it could face. Even when we compare when humanity first started domesticating animals for food, what we are seeing today is a novel food production system that is capable of uncoupling meat production from animal raising and animal slaughter. So this is just fantastic news in many different ways. And this was an invited paper. So the idea was to focus on the meat demand and how it's going to develop in Brazil, and particularly in Brazil, but within the global context. And it's very difficult to predict, but it seems that alternative meats will impose themselves, especially because of ethical and in terms of animal ethics, and also environmental attributes that they may bring. So the closer they come to conventional meat products, the easier it will be for these products to impose themselves. To the point that in our main conclusion, we state that it's very difficult to predict what kind of meat products will be in demand in a couple of decades, because it's difficult to imagine how many different products we will have. So trying to think of demand for meat in the future using our framework today, which is basically based on conventional meat, is like thinking, that people may want better typewriters, but because we are talking of a disruptive innovation, we probably will not see demands in terms of the framework of products that we have with conventional meat. We'll have very different products because they will be possible. So it's a changing paradigm. And it was very, very interesting that Meat Science was willing to publish this conclusion. So coming from that paper, and this is a figure that we've put in it, Brazil is known as the churrasco land, and people think of Brazilians as meat eaters, and rightfully so for most areas of the country. But we have some good news regarding that. When we are able to produce different types of meat, what we saw is that Brazilians are willing to at least try. So these are results that involve Brazilian society. And the gray bar here is showing the percentage of people that have responded that they would try, they would purchase, or they would even replace conventional meat with a cell-based meat. And you can see that the numbers are quite high, in the range of 60 to 70%, I would say, for most cases, except for vegetarians and vegans that self-report a much, much lower intention to buy this type of products. But these are not people that are eating meat to start with. So it seems that these are good news. And something that I would like to also show is that for this first paper here, this paper is from our group, we also asked people what would be the main benefits and the main challenges that they would see when they think of cell-based meat. And these are representative respondents from two of the biggest cities in the south of Brazil, which is Curitiba and Joinville. And when they talk about the potential benefits, what we see here is that what comes with higher frequency are the issues related to animal welfare and environment. And they kind of, they were the opposite in the two cities, in the sense that in Curitiba, the city where UFPR is, animal welfare was the number one benefit, and enjoying really environment was the #1 benefit. The reason I would like to show this is because we see a lot of discussion in terms of the benefits of alternative meats for the environment, and this is very important, of course, but there is also a recognition of the benefits in terms of animal welfare, and this is a driver, a main motivator, at least for those people, those cities that were studied in Brazil. Okay, we have results that will soon be published for other cities in the northeast and the southeast region of Brazil, so different parts of the country, and we will see how much of this trend will prevail, but this is perhaps something to keep in mind, okay? Now, giving a couple of examples in terms of Brazilian food industry, I'll start with the big industry. As you probably all have heard about, we have some of the biggest conventional meat companies, such as JBS and BRF. And they have both invested money and also made important statements in terms of alternative proteins. So these figures here are regarding the JBS company, and they've stated that the company expects to bring cultivated meat by 2024. And they've acquired the Spanish startup Biotech Foods, and they have also, they are building a very important research center for cultivated meat in the city of Florianopolis. So this is just around 400 kilometers further south from where I am now, is the neighboring state. So 400 kilometers, not really that far in terms of Brazil, is our neighboring state. But we are very happy to see this type of investment to produce knowledge and also products from cell-based processes. And this is Professor Luis Mar Porto and the researcher Fernanda Berti, and they're leading this wonderful work that we hope will bring cultivated meat to the market soon. The other big one I'm going to talk about today is BRF. And BRF, its CEO has stated in 2020 that BRF would be generating 10% of its full receipt from innovation. Okay, so from that point until today, we haven't seen a restatement of this, but some facts are happening. For instance, perhaps the major one is that BRF has partnered with Aleph Farms from Israel, and this will accelerate the development of cell-based products by BRF. So BRF is a very big company that owns brands such as Sadia and Perdigão, which are big brands in Brazil. And now I'd like to talk about some startups, not all of them. So this is very important to keep in mind throughout my talk. I can't cover exhaustively everything that is going on in Brazil. First, because probably I am not aware of everything. And second, also because we have time constraints. So I've selected a couple of examples. So we've seen the big companies. Now I'd like to put some light and some attention to our startups, our brilliant startups. So the first one I would like to talk about is Selva. Selva is a recent startup in Brazil, which is gaining a lot of momentum. And they've merged with Ambi Real Foods, which was a pioneering startup in Brazil working with cell-based beef from the state of Rio Grande do Sul. And they have these beef prototypes we can see in this picture. And Selva is also focusing on working in terms of pig fat production. So this is kind of some of the main highlights from Selva. I don't have the time to read all of them, but we are looking forward to some partnership between UFPR and Selva for research. They have already deposited a first patent in terms of microcarriers made of vegetables. And as I said, they are going to be focusing on cultivated animal fat, starting with pig fat. So best wishes for Selva. This is another very nice initiative in Brazil. This is a startup by the name of Sustinere Pisces, and they are working with cell-based fish. It's based in the state of Rio de Janeiro. And this is a picture of cell-based sea bass, kindly sent to me by the CEO, Marcelo Spielmann, for this talk. And they've been working with different species of fish that are very common in the market. So again, best wishes so that we stop overfishing and we can have people eating the fish, all the fish they want, without depleting our oceans and without causing so much suffering, which is the case for fisheries. I am not going to go into the plant-based market in Brazil because this is established. It's, of course, just in the beginning. It's going to grow a lot, but there are so many products and so many initiatives. I just put this slide on to for all of us to keep in mind that the plant-based market is grown up, I would say. It's there, it's solid. So we have this plant-based egg, which is a subsidiary of our biggest egg production company, which is called Mantiqueira. So they have this separate brand called Novo, which is in plant-based eggs. This is Incrível. This is a brand within Seara, which is also a brand within JBS. Okay, so all the products, all Seara products named Incrível are 100% plant-based, and you will find many different types of products in the market, such as poultry and fish, beef, many different products. This is a startup called Future Farm. It's a major success. It's also plant-based, and as far as I know, last time I read about them, they were exporting plant-based meat from Brazil to 22 different countries. This is another brand of plant-based meat, which is growing very fast, Verdali, and it's also partnering with the School of Administration in the Federal University of Parana. So we're going to know a lot more about them and perhaps help them grow as well. So before we move forward, again, it's not a list of everything that is going on. The list is very incomplete because of time, but also because these are concepts which are under construction. So it's very difficult to follow up all the brilliant ideas that are going on around the country. Talking a little bit about regulation and policies, perhaps the most important initiative, because it is a federal, it's an initiative coming from the federal government, is the movement by our Ministry of Agriculture. And they've had a series of meetings and hearings during the last 2 years, so that they get subsidies to write information, to write the national plan for alternative proteins. So we are all waiting for that to be launched. And the key features of this national plan involves open innovation, the development of production chains, researching networks so that research institutes and universities around the country are interconnected and may so make advancements in a faster way and more efficient also. They also want to lead regulatory aspects. We'll talk more about that. They think communication with society is vital, and that's very important because most people in Brazil still, if you ask, when we do our survey types of research, many people respond that they never heard about it. So you have to always have a small explanation before you move forward into asking whatever it is that you're serving. So communication is very important, so we can, move forward in terms of removing neophobia, which is always within the first reaction people get to cell-based meat. They also put forward that teaching will be a major part of their plan. And this is both for children and also for professionals. And of course, their role as grant institution is very important. It's one of the richest ministries in Brazil, and we are hoping that they will put money into developing these new food production systems. By the way, this is food tax is the name of their first major grant that was offered this year for researchers around Brazil to compete for funding and substantial funding. This is a figure also coming from that paper I talked to you about, the paper that we've just published in Meat Science. And I think it's interesting at this point when we are talking about regulations, because we were able to put together different actions and the degree of development of each of these actions in Brazil. So the darker the color in our chart here, the more developed that specific action is. Okay, so the darker colors represent actions that are already happening, and the intermediate colors, actions that are just being planned, and very light colors are actions that we believe should be started but have not yet received any attention. So we don't have time to go into each one of these, but if you like this field, I think it's interesting to see this example. And we've built this this type of organization to help countries realize where they are and what are the main points of action for the new industry to develop in the fastest manner. So as I said, MAPA, our Ministry of Agriculture, has just put forward a grant called Food Tech. And also we have seen another important grant in terms of subsidies for research that was put forward by our Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation. It was a grant on bioeconomy. And we had to put our projects for competition up to the end of November. So the beginning of next year, we'll have results, and hopefully lots of projects will start soon. Now, moving forward in terms of research and teaching, the first thing I'd like to comment is the wonderful, very satisfying opportunity to start teaching an introductory course on cellular animal science. This was an initiative that we took together with GFI Brazil, and the first edition of this course was offered by the Veterinary Sciences program at UFPR in the second semester of 2020. And we had lots of people willing to participate. We had people from Brazil and from other countries. It was a lot of learning also for ourselves by interacting with the participants. And we have repeated the same course, as I said, 3 times. And from that course, we have extracted some main points to be part of a class for undergrads, very introductory as well. And it has been approved by our institution. So starting January, well, the school year here starts in March, okay? So starting March 2023, our vet students and all our animal sciences students may enroll, if they wish so, in this introductory course for cellular animal science. And we are preparing a full course because we'll be soon able to teach in terms of practical classes as well, allowing students to do their own small cell culture along a semester so that it becomes more concrete and perhaps closer to their realities. So we build the many professionals that will be needed for this industry to develop, as well as we remove again the neophobia, because when people first hear about cell-based meat, it seems so distant. And once they do that themselves in the lab, we believe this will be a major form of approaching the professionals to these practices. So then I would like to move now to one of the major events for us here at UFPR in terms of developing alternative protein research and teaching. We have just succeeded in getting a grant from our state government. So now we're moving from, I was talking before, federal, the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation. These are federal ministries. And now I'm talking about the government of our state, the state of Parana. And they have just accepted our proposal to create a NAPI. This is a local terminology, but it stands for New Arrangement for Research and Innovation. So we have a NAPI specifically on alternative proteins. And this is a major state grant, the biggest one in the whole country. And it's able to support a group of laboratories so that infrastructure is built and we can really start being eligible for grants in terms of many different phases of cell-based meat production. So this will support a group of laboratories spread throughout the state of Paraná. This NAPI is open for new partnerships. It will be starting in January 2023. And as I said, it will give us a very interesting basic infrastructure so that we can conduct research. So this is the group of professors that led this proposal that was happily successful. So it's myself, Professor Germano from the School of Business and Administration at UFPR, Professor Sokol, who is in the School of Biotechnology and Bioengineering at UFPR as well, and Professor Renata Guedes, which is conducting research in terms of new plant molecules that may be useful. There is also a partnership with two other universities in the same state. So this is the State University of Maringá. Maringá is the name of a city in the west part of the state of Paraná. And Professor Paula Pintro works also with molecules that may be interesting for new ingredients in terms of culture media. And especially she's dedicating part of her research to understand the potential for byproducts of conventional agriculture. So we believe there will be interesting combinations here. And then we have the support of Professor Renata de Macedo. She's from another university, also in the same state, in the same city, actually. And Professor Renata Macedo works with meat quality aspects. So with this group of laboratory leaders, will be able to cover many different aspects and to help the beginning of a cell-based meat industry in our state. So just two pictures here for you to feel closer to our university. This is the campus where I am, the agrarian sector. I am a veterinary, I'm in the vet school, okay? So this is a building where we are going to be conducting here at the second floor. We're going to be conducting research with primary cells, as well as new plant ingredients that will be able, we hope, to substitute all ingredients from animal origin. And then we have the group under Professor Sokol's supervision. that are in our biotech school, and this is the picture of one of their labs. It's a very well, it's a robust, let's say, school of bioengineering, but they're going to be starting the scaling up of fermentation or bioreactors for animal cells. Up to now, they have been working with plants and algae and fungi, and now they're going to be starting animal cells, which is also great news. Cultivated meat quality, as I said, with Professor Renata Macedo from PUC, social, economic, and animal ethics impacts. And this is a lot based on the excellent work of the people from the business and administration school, as well as the value chain and retail aspects of different alternative protein products. So we are very, very happy that finally we're going to be able to launch a more organized research in our state with many different groups of researchers. And one of the deliverables is that within the 3 years that this project lasts, we intend to produce cell-based meat with the identity of the state of Paraná. So these are two breeds of animals that are conventionally used to produce beef and pork that are associated with our identity as a state that is very geared towards food production. Okay, so this is Purunã cattle, and this is Moura pigs. So these are breeds that are, as I said, identified with the state of Paraná. And what we would like to do is to produce cell-based meat using these genetics so that we can have an identity in the new cell-based meat market. Some of our research has already started. We are looking forward to our full lab, but we are already working. So this is a working partnership with the official veterinary laboratory of the state of Paraná. And they've been conducting animal cell cultivation for many, many years because, you know, it's very common for veterinary purposes. For instance, when you need to use cell culture to help producing vaccines or to help diagnosing animal diseases. So what we are doing is we are starting our study with animal-free media in cells that are already being cultivated. So these are, let's say, easy cells to work with because they are already prepared for all the activities in the lab. Okay, it's mostly kidney cells from primates and also from cattle. And this is our research group. So thanks to Mara. Mara is the official state veterinarian that is partnering with us for this work. This is Vivian. She's a postdoc fellow in our lab. And this is Maria Eduarda, Duda, we call her. She's a veterinary student, and she's doing a project with animal-free media for animal cells. We also have two PhD studies going on right now. The first one I put here is the one by Jennifer, and that paper on the Meat Science Journal is the first chapter of her thesis. She's focusing on teaching. So how can we understand the veterinary program that we offer today in our school, and also the animal science program? What are the teachings that are within the courses in this program that are useful? What would be interesting adaptations that we could suggest? And also, what are the new courses that should be inserted for our students to be able, if they wish so, to work for the cellular animal science industry? And this is another thesis that is focusing on Brazilian farmers and also Australian farmers. It's a joint project with Curtin University. We are working with Professor Clive Phillips and also Professor Dora Marinova at Curtin University. And what we want to do is listen, ask farmers and listen to their point of view in terms of the benefits they see, the challenges that they face if they want to transition from conventional animal production to alternative meat production systems. And it's been very, very interesting. We are learning a lot, although we are in the first year, so the project is just beginning. Some other initiatives in Brazil, there are many, as I said. So a beautiful initiative that I would like to show you, just because these animals are gorgeous. I don't know if you ever heard about them. These are the Amazon River dolphins, and yes, they are pink and beautiful, and they're threatened for many different reasons, but one of them is that local people eat their meat, and it becomes kind of valued meat in some types of markets. And what the Federal University of the Amazon, that's what UFAM stands for, Federal University of Amazon, the Amazon state, together with GFI, what they're trying to do is to imagine and learn how cell-based dolphin meat could be made in the Amazon, so that we could, help protecting this wonderful animal. Other initiatives that are very relevant in Brazil are the initiatives by Embrapa. Embrapa stands for Brazilian Agricultural Research Institution, and it's a very, very important institution, very active, and it's a branch of the Ministry of Agriculture, so it runs with federal public money. And it's very recognized, and it receives interesting money for research. So the fact that they are moving forward to incorporate research goals in terms of alternative proteins in general is very good news. And we've seen some interesting activities. For instance, the Embrapa in Concórdia, that's the name of a city. And this branch of Embrapa is mostly concerned with research regarding poultry and pork meats. And they've just conducted a workshop on cell-based meat. So that was very, very positive. And also we have some initiative from Embrapa São Carlos. So São Carlos, again, is the name of a city. So Embrapa Concórdia is in Santa Catarina, the same place where JBS is putting an innovation center for cell-based meat, and the same state where we had that the survey in terms of intention of consumption. Okay, so a lot is going on in Santa Catarina. And São Carlos is a city in the state of São Paulo. Okay, and this Embrapa is working with cattle. And one of the researchers at Embrapa São Paulo is also interested in cell-based meat. We've been invited to write a chapter on cultivated meat in the latest book that they've published, Embrapa São Carlos. So it's also good news that, it seems that research for cultivated meat is penetrating different areas that are relevant in terms of conventional meat, which is very good news for the development of the industry in general. Unicamp is another university in São Paulo, and they had a very interesting initiative coming from the food engineering department. They've offered a course on alternative proteins, and I heard that they are probably going to offer the course again next year. So let's hope it becomes a permanent course for them. So this is the Federal University of Grande Dourado. This is the state of Mato Grosso do Sul. They are also interested. The Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul, which is the southernmost state in Brazil, together with a researcher at the University of Brasilia, the capital of our country, which is far north from here. They are also interested in creating research regarding social aspects of cultivated meat, especially. This is the Federal University of Santa Maria in Rio Grande do Sul. So there are many Okay, other initiatives that I would like to mention is the cellular Brazil Foundation, the Cellular Agriculture Society Brazil, and also the ABBI, which stands for Brazilian Association for Bio-Innovation. It's also a player that could be very interesting for us. I'm running out of time, so I'll try to speak a little faster, okay? We had this wonderful experience of a joint project with Gaia, an NGO from Belgium, and we've just published 3 papers on the social impact of cultivated media. Very interesting, sorry, cultivated meat. Very interesting because that's always the first question. Yeah, but what will happen to people? What will happen to the farmers? What will happen to the people in the rural areas? So this was amazing work. Supervised by Professor Germano at the School of Business and Administration. He's founded the Sustainable Food Value Chains Laboratory, and we were very proud to be able to work with Rodrigo. This was his postdoc. He published then 3 papers in these different and very important scientific journals, and Eduardo Vilar also helped us with this work. So there are many, many different things. If you're interested in social impacts of cell-based meat, I would recommend you to have a look at these papers. And I just brought one of the results, which is one of my favorites, because I think this is so compelling to talk to people who have the power to decide whether money will go for this industry or not. And this is a comparison between social impacts when there is a high level of engagement, and essentially when a state, an industry, or country searches and builds a high level of engagement with the new industry, we see that this side of the scale, becomes heavier. Many opportunities come because of the engagement. Now, when the engagement is low, then we can see that there is a different scenario and the balance is heavier on the side of the challenges. So this is very compelling to talk to people, but there's much more to these studies, okay? Another very important initiative, which is also from a professor from the School of Administration at UFPR, is his line of research in terms of the impact of cultivated meat within the Sustainable Development Goals. And this is the first paper that we see published in the world, where he has studied, Professor Farley Nobre has studied mostly these 4 Sustainable Development Goals. I'm sorry they're here in Portuguese, but I'm sure you are aware of them. Sustainable Development Goal number 1, 10, 12, and 13. And he has told me, Professor Nobre, that a new paper is coming. So soon we'll have more discussions on this. I would like to mention very briefly, but very importantly, the efforts of GFI Brazil. I don't think we would be anywhere near where we are in the development of alternative proteins in Brazil were it not for GFI Brazil's actions. Okay, so there are many different areas where GFI Brazil is helping regulatory aspects. Alexandre Cabral is doing very, very nice job in terms of talking and trying to understand how best we can move forward. We are probably going to move forward in a similar way that the states did. So Anvisa is our FDA and MAPA is our USDA, okay? GFI Brazil is supporting the teaching. You've already seen some of the initiatives. So there's lots of support for those wishing to start course, institutions which want to start offering courses. GFI has lots of support for this. And also GFI is developing a syllabus for a full alternative protein course, which is a very nice initiative. GFI has been putting research grants, has been publishing research reports with both Brazilian and global data. So the fact that Brazilian data is in there and it's in Portuguese, so that's the cover of one of such reports. Being in Portuguese is a very important thing to communicate in Brazil. So it's amazing work. So just the last reminder that Brazil is very big. I don't know if you're aware, but Brazil is 50% of the land area of South America. So it's difficult to say anything in average for our country. Everything is different. Climate is different. So the tropical Brazil you probably have in mind when you think of Brazil is from Rio de Janeiro, around here, up north. I am here in the state of Paraná. Our winter is quite cold, it's around 0, so it's not tropical anymore, it's temperate climate. Biomes are completely different. Here is the Amazon, wonderful Amazon forest. Here is the Atlantic forest. So there is no way to summarize Brazil in average. Okay, so please don't think that you know all about the Brazilian initiatives. It's just a couple of important, I think, initiatives that I was able to put together. So I think this is, alternative proteins to me is a community of people that are, maybe we don't know, most of us don't know each other, but we are moral friends. We have similar values, similar important values in terms of being worried about food security for the world, environmental problems that we need to address, and animal ethics, because what we are doing is just providing, we are producing suffering life conditions for billions of animals. We cannot be in peace with that. So I am very happy to be able to participate in this community and to talk to all of you. So I wish to thank GFI for the invitation. This has been a pleasure, and I want to thank all people that are working together in Brazil that made this talk possible, these institutions and many more. And I want to leave my email in case anyone wants to get in direct contact. Please feel free to do so. And we are going to have our site for the cellular animal science laboratory. It's going to be up very soon. It's called ZooCell. But meanwhile, you can write to me and I'll let you know about the news. So thank you so much, Amy. I'm sorry, I think I was quite long.
Not at all. You did such a phenomenal job. Thank you for this incredible overview of the Brazilian ecosystem. I think you did a great job of helping us understand the landscape of education, research, outreach, funding initiatives, really a lot of exciting developments in Brazil. And I'm so delighted that our colleagues at GFI Brazil were able to be so critical to these efforts of accelerating progress in alternative proteins in Brazil. So thank you so much for those shout outs, and then also, of course, for this super helpful landscape snapshot of the many activities underway. It's so hugely kind of just affirming and inspiring to guide many of the efforts that the scientists in our community might be seeding in their respective regions across the world. So thank you so much for providing us fodder for that type of reflection and inspiration. If you all in the audience have not yet done so, please do feel free to drop your questions for Dr. Molento in the Q&A section of your Zoom bar, and I'll be happy to moderate through them. We do have a few questions already from our audience that I'd love to ask you. There's a question here from Alexander, who's hoping that you can help illuminate the grants, the scale of funding from public sources like CAPES, MAPA, CNPq, etc., for cultivated meat or cell-based meat research and development. Do you know what the scale is in terms of dollars?
Yes, I've been following that very closely, actually. So I think the biggest grants were the two I've mentioned, the food tax and the bioeconomy grants, which were respectively from the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation. And projects could be from I think for both of them from 1 to 3 million reais. So probably other Brazilians can help me converting, but I think it's dividing by 5, so around $600,000 roughly. Yeah. So it allows us to start building some infrastructure. Yeah. And the state grant that was provided through the NAPI initiative that I mentioned was 5.7 million reais. So that's roughly $1 million. So I think this is very critical, because after some infrastructure is built, we are able to compete for grants in a broader way. But before that, all we have is, I've been trying to build this laboratory at the campus here, the agrarian sector, the vet school, since 2019. But if you don't have the initial lab requirements, all you have is goodwill, and many people have goodwill, thanks God. I think actually this is the best thing, the first thing to have. But we needed this, we need investment in building infrastructure. And I think this is just the beginning, because you know what? Not only our moral community, as I said, but also people who are just looking for money. And there's nothing wrong about it. I mean, people that are worried perhaps with the economic development of the country or the big industries, they've realized already that it is worth putting money into this. So I'm looking forward for a couple of years where money will come, and I'm hoping for that.
Yeah, we are also optimistic that there are going to be new research funding sources opening up globally as governments start to prioritize alternative proteins as a climate mitigation strategy or a food insecurity solution, or a biosecurity risk and public and global health strategy. So lots there for governments to really be investing in alternative proteins for. Economic competitiveness, of course, as you've stated already. There's a follow-up question here on whether you know of opportunities that are available for Brazilian companies from development banks or government foundations, in addition to public research funding for academic labs. Do you know of any that are accessible for companies?
I think most of the public money, let's say, releasing bodies in the government are looking for public-private partnerships. So I think there is a lot of room to build that. And I also think that we would benefit from a closer relationship between the private initiatives and the scientific institutions, universities, or otherwise. For instance, we have now, with this major grant that we got, we have scholarships for doctorate level and postdocs, and it would be really wonderful if these people would come from the industry. We are all set to at no cost for the company, for people to come and help us build knowledge. And of course, this knowledge will be immediately shared. It will be eventually shared also because, knowledge produced at the university is for publication. So this is also something good and helpful. We do not need to protect our data as much. So I think there's a lot of room, but I cannot think of something concrete to say, oh, go there. But I am open to help building these spaces, because I think they're needed, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a role for industry to play in the development of the scientific ecosystem within academia and helping us align on what the core technological bottlenecks are from a commercial standpoint, commercial R&D standpoint, or what the biggest skills gaps are needed for your education-related objectives. Yes, so I love the orientation towards having more public-private partnerships. For Alexander, who asked this question, I'll just note that GFI has a resource called a research grants tracker, which does keep track of all of the alternative protein research grants we know of globally, so that you can get a deeper dive into the funding landscape for alternative proteins. And hopefully my colleague Renee can help us find that link and drop it there in the chat. Going on to our next question here, there's a question about your project with farmers and some curiosity around whether you're working to work with a specific type of farmer, like small farmers in the agricultural space versus large producers, and just whether you can speak to more about the experiences at what level of the agricultural fields you're looking to mine those insights.
Yeah, so this project started with a one-year grant, which is actually, again, from Animal Protection NGO, okay? And the first year, they wanted us to study 4 different types of production systems in terms of animal species that are involved, okay? But we said that we couldn't do that much in a single year. So we are starting with producers that are raising broiler chickens and producers that are raising cattle. So this is our starting point. We didn't really segregate according to size of their production activities. But in Brazil, the trend is for poultry producers to be small farmers that are integrated to bigger industry poultry meat industries, okay? So they are mostly small producers. Cattle producers are more varied, okay? But we are facing an unpredicted, well, not unpredicted, but we thought it wouldn't be a major problem, but it is, which is farmer adhesion to the project. It's a bit what we are finding out both in Brazil and in Australia, because there is a doctorate student doing this in Brazil and a postdoc fellow doing this in Australia, talking to farmers, trying to get farmers to give 1 hour of their time to talk to us about possible transitions from what they're doing right now to new production systems that do not involve animals. Or we are also interested in talking to people that already made this transition, that were producing animals before and now are in a different type of activity. But what we are finding by talking to farmers is it's a bit early. They don't need, most of them haven't even heard about cell-based meat, so they can't imagine yet that this will be an activity that they may join by producing, plants that will be a media, or I don't know, holding bioreactors in the future that may be adaptable. So instead of having a shed with 25,000 broiler chickens, maybe they can have the same shed with 8 bioreactors. So the future is I love talking about this because it depends on what we choose, right, to do. But it's a bit early, so we are facing this difficulty in finding farmers willing to talk about the transition. So we've actually switched from transition to diversifying, and we were able to get more farmers. When we talk about, would you be interested in research about the possibilities of diversifying your activities? This sounds less threatening than transitioning, because what we found is that some of the farmers react by, oh my God, I cannot do what I do. And that's not the idea at all. It is an invitation. So our results will probably be published, our first results about beef and poultry farmers will be out probably in the second semester of 2023. And we probably will move forward another year talking to dairy farmers and fish farmers. So that's what the original proposal wanted us to study. It's very interesting. We're learning a lot from the farmers. It's very, very interesting.
So cool. And I'm very excited to dive into that report, translating it to English at some point in the future.
It will be published in English.
Oh, great. That's lovely. Yeah, I will say that what you said around taking the angle of diversification and really inviting folks in as a means of also bolstering their economic resilience is a really powerful angle to take for um, even academic institutions that might have deeply vested interests in the existing mode of meat production. And I've also found, even on the industry side, it can be very early, a little bit too early to really understand what the workforce will need to look like at scale, what skills and thus what transition pathways and scenarios might exist for the conventional agricultural workforce. So it is so cool that your work is starting to build these bridges now and doing this early outreach and information gathering to understand where the traditional agricultural workforce stands with cultivated meat. But I think it is probably true that on both sides, it's not quite yet the time to be building skill building programs for folks to actually transition in, given that cultivated meat has not yet been produced at scale. So all to say, super fascinating line of research, definitely see connections with some of our work here at GFI, and very grateful, looking forward to kind of reading the insights from that study. There is a question here from Jeff about the regulatory environment in Brazil. And I'm not sure if this is something you have much visibility into, but I will pose the question. Feel free to pass if you don't. But there's a question around whether cell-based meats or cultivated meats in Brazil will be treated as novel food from a regulatory perspective.
Yeah, I understand that in some countries there is kind of a prepared regulation for novel foods, which make things smoother and faster. I don't believe we have this in Brazil. All I've heard in terms of regulation in Brazil is either following, not either, but both actually, following the pattern of the states in the sense that the initial steps of the production chain would be regulated by our FDA, which is called Anvisa, and later steps in the production chain would be regulated by our USDA, which is our Ministry of Agriculture. Okay, but I know also that there are people working with the Codex Alimentarius internationally, and if that's solved, that would be a big push, for things to move much faster. So I think with the FAO entering this scenario, and also the fact that alternative proteins were at the COP discussions, things will move forward faster, I hope. Yeah, but that, as much as I can tell you, Jeff, I would mention again the important role of GFI Brazil in these discussions, and I am sure they have more information to share.
Thank you so much, Carla. Yeah, I have also dropped 2 links there in the chat that I hope will be useful to those in the audience who are curious and learning more about the global regulatory landscape and state of affairs in terms of policy across the globe related to alternative proteins. I've dropped those 2 resources there in case that helps offer some additional clarification. There's a question here from Erica for you, Carla, on whether the cellular animal science course that you're working on you expect will benefit dietitians as well.
I'm thinking, what do you mean by dietitians? Is this professionals working with human nutrition? Is that what it means?
Yes. Exactly.
Well, I think if I were someone working with human nutrition, I would be so interested, because what it does in terms of our possibilities for food is, I tell my students that the sky is the limit. We don't know yet the wonderful new products that we may have in the future, that we will have in the future. Just imagine having meat, okay? And I am a veterinarian. I've been studying farm animal welfare all my career, okay? And animals have been going through terrible artificial selection so that their bodies become a little closer to the meat that people would like to eat, to the demand, let's say. We've been forcing animals, changing their anatomy, which of course is full with limitations. And we've been beyond any reasonable limitation, causing the animals suffering because they grow bodies that are not functional, right? They are too heavy, they have way too many muscles, their legs cannot hold. It's causing a lot of suffering. But that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to have the animals grow into the whatever meat we want to put on the market. But with cell-based meat, this is past. The suffering is past. That's why I'm so enthusiastic about it. But also the limitations. We can have, okay, it's meat composition and many other aspects on demand. You have a recipe. How much fat would you like in your meat? Would you like your muscle to be from cattle? So you would like beef? Would you like your beef with plant fat? Not fat, huh? But plant, yeah. Yeah. So, and how much? Would you like 20% fat, 5% fat, 50% fat? Would you like the fat to be on the outside? Would you like the fat to be marbled? It becomes tailored. It's a recipe. So it's just for people working with food. Just imagine, what kind of meat would you like to use? Would you like to use foie gras? Okay, go ahead. No ethics involved anymore. Oh, of course, I shouldn't say it that way, but the traditional animal ethics problems are not there anymore. Just use fat liver if you wish, so no problem. So I think it's fantastic for dietitians. If that was the goal of the question, I hope I have interpreted well.
Yeah, no, I think that definitely helps answer it. The idea that with cultivated meat, you can fine tune the nutritional profile and makeup of these products. And I think their curiosity was just around whether the university course covers nutritional science as a dimension of cellular agriculture.
Okay, I think this is something to be developed, right? The same way we are specifically my group, we are working with the aspects that should be inserted or adapted in the veterinary program and in the animal science program so that these professionals become capable of working in this field. But I think the same must be done for food engineering, for human nutrition, I don't know, biotechnology courses, of course. So people ask me, but you're a vet, do you think that's an area for vets? And my answer, first, the basis for that is vets have been involved in producing meat forever. So they need to be part of the change. Otherwise, they're going to be, stuck to their conventional ideas, and that's not good. But the major answer to this question is this field is for whoever wants to work with it. It's new. We don't know how to regulate. We don't know how it will develop. I mean, look at the profile of people in the successful startups, and you'll see a bunch of different types of backgrounds. And we have 2 openings for doctorate students. You don't need, it's the veterinary science programs where I supervise, okay? You don't need to be a vet. You don't need to be an animal scientist. You can be from any field as long as you have background knowledge in terms of cultivating cells and you are willing to work with this. That's all.
Yeah, It's so, so true that this is an incredibly interdisciplinary field. We're really building a new scientific field at the intersection of so many existing disciplines, and it is an all hands on deck type of effort, even beyond the natural and biological sciences. So love that call to action for folks from all departments, disciplines, backgrounds, to think about how you might apply your skills to the entire alternative protein landscape. There's a
Amy,
question here. Yes.
we are building a new world,
Mm,
and this is just fantastic.
so beautiful. Yeah, it's very true. We are architecting new futures for humanity and this planet. And I'm grateful to get to work alongside people like you and those in our scientific community. There's a question here that is just first offering congratulations on your very critical and exciting work. And they're wondering what you see as the priority gaps to be addressed before we reach the point that most animal products are displaced by cell cultured or plant-based meat, and what your priority would be for the new research that needs to happen in order to address those gaps. So really, if you could wave your hand and have a bunch of research and research centers around the world focus on alternative proteins, where would they be focusing, in your opinion, to have maximal impact? What research questions or bottlenecks ought we be tackling?
If we think of accelerating the transition, which is something very, very positive, we cannot escape the binomial price and taste, because whenever you ask people how they choose their food, these come high up. So it has to taste at least the same as the conventional equivalent or better. And it has to be at least the same price or cheaper. So bottlenecks, the number one bottleneck, I think, is scaling up and making it less costly, right? And to me, for my group, the major bottleneck we want to address, the things that the Cellular Animal Science Laboratory will do at UFPR, are related to substituting products that are from animal origin. Everybody talks about bovine fetal serum, of course. It won't stand because it is expensive, so it's not going to be a good alternative anyways. But from an animal welfare point of view, this is one of the worst products we could think of. It's terrible. If you don't know how this is produced, please try to learn, and you'll see that this is very critical. So we need, and things are interrelated, because we do have media without or with very, very small amounts of serum, but then the rate of multiplication of the cells becomes so slower, and this will make the whole process even more expensive. So, but people ask me, yeah, but this will not do because you have all those animal products. And it's not only the serum, okay? There are many other substances that may be of animal origin, like enzymes that are used in the process. Anyways, so we have to look at the whole process and make sure there are no products that are from animal origin. And then this is an important challenge from the biotechnology point of view, but this does not make me afraid, because biotechnology is something, science is something that if you put enough effort and money, you solve. It's like talking, can you imagine talking to people in the 18th century that we would be stepping on the moon and they would react like you're crazy? So I am pretty sure we are going to find ways of substituting all our products from animal origin, but I want to be part of this development. So this will be my major goal, let's say, in terms of my the contribution of my group.
Yeah, thank you so, so much. There are several companies, many companies that have gone on record saying that they will not be using fetal bovine serum and will have animal-free media in their end products for consumers, but absolutely echo that getting cell culture media to not just be animal free, but still be highly functional and optimized for cultivated meat production is going to be huge and cost effective, given that that's one of the biggest barriers to achieving price parity. I did also want to ask, in this movement from, bench scale research to commercial scale reality, how do you see the university, the Federal University of Parana, maybe playing a role in that translational effort? There's a question here from Fernanda asking whether the university works to incubate startups in this space, or what work you might do at the intersection of academia and industry insofar as actually scaling and commercializing the technologies.
Yes, the university does incubate startups. We do have an agency within the university that is only helping us with that. So this is a possibility. And we are also very lucky at UFPR because as I've shown one picture of our bioengineering program, it is a very, I would say it's a strong program, and they are able to study scaling up. So this part is going to be in the hands of Professor Carlos Sokol, and it's a difficult point to achieve for a university to be ready to do this, because it requires a lot of room and capabilities. But I think UFPR is strategically positioned for that. So we will do scaling up studies. This is with Professor Sokol's group. And we also incubate startups. So this is something to talk about. And not least, I want to mention that we are one federal university in Brazil, but there are almost as many as the number of states. So there are dozens of federal universities, and some of São Paulo state universities are just as well, positioned in many ways, and some private universities and Embrapas, if they do enter this, they will have lots of support from the Ministry of Agriculture. So I see many possibilities, yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Carla, for this extraordinary seminar and for taking the time to answer all of these questions. We've reached the end of our audience questions for today, and I'm just curious, before we wrap up, whether you have any last notes that you'd like to leave our audience with of scientists who are wanting to help accelerate alternative proteins. Any parting ideas or words before we wrap up today?
I don't know, I think perhaps the main idea would be for all of us to follow our dreams. If I think of my career, I started as a vet student because I wanted to work with animal protection, and it was very difficult. Then you realize that lots of the activities a veterinarian do is not about animal protection. And once I entered the UFPR as a professor, I founded the Animal Welfare Laboratory, and I had nothing, just my room. But I had a good idea, and the university is amazing because the students have so much energy. And now I can't believe I founded this cellular animal science laboratory. I am within a veterinary school that is traditionally very geared towards productivity. Okay, so I think if you really believe in something, go ahead, because you will succeed. Yes.
What a beautiful dose of encouragement and motivation and inspiration for our scientific community, all for fulfilling our dreams of building a better world and a better food system for humans, animals, and the planet. So thank you so much, Dr. Molento, for joining us today. This has really been extraordinary, and thank you to everyone in the audience for joining us today as well. We look forward to seeing you again next month for our Science About Protein seminar. Thanks so much, everyone. Happy holidays.
Thank you, GFI. Thank you so much for everything.